Most borders are simply lines on a map. Some are enforced with lethal force. Borders exist everywhere. Only a few are designed to stop you at any cost. They are administrative boundaries, crossed daily by millions of people, with little more than a passport or an identification card. However, a select few borders operate under a fundamentally different set of principles. These are not merely administrative lines, they are heavily fortified, actively patrolled, and legally designated as zones of lethal enforcement. At these locations, crossing without authorization is not treated as a simple infraction. It is interpreted as a hostile act, an immediate threat to national security, that justifies an absolute and final response. This analysis is not about politics or moral judgments. It is a factual examination of absolute enforcement. Our approach is map first, using satellite perspectives and documented data to understand construction and control. The distinction between a standard international boundary and a lethal enforcement zone is critical. It is the difference between a door and a wall. Our first location is one of the most heavily militarized borders on the planet. It is a scar left by a brutal war, frozen in time for over 70 years. Zooming in from a global perspective, the Korean peninsula reveals a landscape bisected by an unnatural scar. The DMZ is not a simple line, but a complex, multi-layered defense system. Behind the fences, some of the world's most concentrated minefields. At this border, crossing is treated as a hostile act. The primary factor making the Korean DMZ so lethally dangerous is its underlying military doctrine, born from a conflict that is not over, merely paused. The DMZ is not a boundary between two peaceful neighbors. It is the front line of a frozen war. Any individual attempting to cross is not viewed as a refugee or a migrant, but as a potential spy, saboteur, or enemy soldier. Ironically, the absence of human activity has turned the DMZ into an unintentional nature preserve. This paradox, a haven for wildlife born from human conflict, only serves to underscore the profound danger to any human who enters. The rules are simple and brutal. Do not cross. The consequences for violating that single rule are final. Our second location is not a static line, but a fluid, volatile front line. It is a de facto boundary born from decades of unresolved territorial disputes and active military hostilities. The enforcement map reveal for the line of control shows a border etched onto a vertical landscape. Enforcement is achieved through a chain of interconnected military outposts, turning the entire LOC into a militarized ridgeline. At this border, crossing is treated as a hostile act. The single greatest factor making the LOC dangerously volatile is contested sovereignty. Neither India nor Pakistan accepts the LOC as a permanent international border. This unresolved dispute turns the LOC from a ceasefire line into a symbol of an ongoing national struggle. This conflict is not about managing a border, it is about asserting a claim to the land itself. For the civilians who inhabit the villages scattered along both sides of the LOC, the conflict is an inescapable part of daily existence. A normal day can be shattered in an instant by the sound of incoming shells, forcing families to flee to community bunkers. For anyone attempting to cross, it is a near-certain death sentence, delivered either by a bullet, a shell, or the unforgiving mountain landscape itself. So, why do some borders become this extreme, while others remain invisible? Our third location is a border transformed by modern warfare and state security doctrine, separating one of the wealthiest nations in the Middle East from one of its poorest and most fractured. In response to the Yemeni civil war, Saudi Arabia has invested billions into creating one of the most technologically advanced border security systems in the world. The system is designed to detect and neutralize threats at a distance, long before they can reach the border fence itself. At this border, crossing is treated as a hostile act. The legal framework governing this border is absolute. Saudi state security doctrine classifies any unauthorized breach as a direct threat to national sovereignty. This doctrine makes little distinction between a desperate migrant, a smuggler, or an enemy combatant. The danger here comes from a combination of an active conflict on one side and a zero-tolerance security posture on the other. Our final location is a border fortified against the spillover from one of the 21st century's most devastating civil wars. It is a line where a NATO member state has constructed a massive wall to seal itself off. The centerpiece is the Syria security wall itself. This is not a simple fence, but a modular concrete barrier, typically 3 meters high, topped with razor wire. Along its entire length runs a network of surveillance towers, designed to detect and track movement day or night in all weather conditions. At this border, crossing is not just illegal, it is treated as a potential national security threat. The dominant factor here is a counter-terrorism doctrine driven by strategic geography. The border is designed to function as a one-way filter. For civilians fleeing conflict in Syria, this has made legal and safe passage nearly impossible. The border has become a hard, unforgiving line, where the desperation of those on one side meets the absolute security doctrine of the other. Borders don't all enforce the same rules. Some are crossed, others are survived.